Okay, this is starting at 18:45 hours GMT, as it says on the banner, and this is the one that we shall start by updating our diagnosis of the crooked Financial Times of London in the UK. The Financial Times we renamed as Financial Crimes because it is the vehicle for financial crooks and big business crooks. In the context of the subcontinent, in the context of the subcontinent of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, the financial crimes has committed in the last fortnight a completely outrageous, provocative, inciting, hateful crime against the movement for democracy, movement for an end to corruption in Pakistan that the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party has been mobilizing and being led by the PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party chairperson, Imran Khan. Now, in the financial crimes, on page 6 of the financial crimes of today, that is Monday, 1st of August 2022, there is a heading under Pakistan, and it says Khan rivals demand details of party funds. Every single word in that particular heading is misleading, misconceived, and dishonest. Because the Khan that they're referring to is, of course, Imran Khan, and the rivals are, of course, the crooks that Imran Khan has been and the Tehreek-e-Insaf party have been campaigning against over the last, let's say, in the context of the ouster from office of Imran Khan, the last 4 months, let's say. And this is something that should be examined very thoroughly to show that the financial crimes is really the vehicle of big fraudsters and big multi-billion criminals across the world in the capitalist imperialist market. But in the context of the South Asian subcontinent of India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, the financial crimes is in collusion, is complicit with some of the big Indian criminals, and especially in political context, the financial crimes is complicit with the criminal Narendra Modi. Because unlike any of the so-called financial crimes and scandals that took place and has taken place in India in the last few decades, the attention given to the concept of opposing financial scandals and corruption and large-scale bribery that Imran Khan has been now mobilizing has been exceptional. So this heading that Imran Khan's rivals have been demanding the disclosure of the documents or the evidence of alleged financial kind of impropriety or funding by foreign sources, funding by foreign sources of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party. This is absolutely untrue. During the day today, Monday, this 1st of August 2022, Imran Khan, of course, addressed the public, and he, of course, extensively went item by item through the corruption of the Sharif family and the corruption of the Zardari family, the Bemari family. And this heading does not recognize, this heading or the contents underneath it do not recognize the ongoing campaign that Imran Khan is fronting and the ongoing campaign that has been going on against the Sharifs and against the Bemari, Zardari. And it is ridiculously infantile and stupid. Not only is it dishonest and ignorant, but it is ridiculously infantile and stupid because the Election Commission is not the watchdog. The Electoral Commission that the Financial Times elevates to the status of watchdog in order to create an appearance of credibility in the image of the Electoral Commission in Pakistan. It is Imran Khan and the PTI that have been focusing maximum demand on the need to have fair and free election in Pakistan, which can only happen with the scrapping of the currently constituted Electoral Commission. So the biggest allegations, the biggest claims of fraud and deception and corruption and criminality is not against PTI or Imran Khan, but it actually lies at the door of the current Electoral Commission, which has been complicit with the Sharifs and the Zardari, the Bimari. We shall talk more about all of that in due course, in the course of this particular edition. So let's see if the guest is there, if the guest is able to enter the studio. Now I'm going to go off the camera to adjust the power supply, I think. Am I back in front of the camera? I hope so. So the Asif Ali Zardari, the Bemari, and Nawaz Sharif and his family, according to the narrative and the statement made every day by Imran Khan, that those two main kind of families have been stealing and robbing and defrauding and deceiving the people of Pakistan for the last 30 years. And the Financial Crimes, has not run any of the substantial or substantive assertions made by Imran Khan or by any of his colleagues in the PTI, which is very significant. So why is the Financial Crimes having a go at Imran Khan and the PTI? The simple answer is that the Financial Crimes is an extension of the regime fronted by Narendra Modi in India. Now, because of the huge mass mobilization that Imran Khan and the PTI have been able to achieve in the last few months, compared to Pakistan and what Imran Khan and the PTI have been doing, India has come across undeniably as an anti-democratic regime, fascistic regime, because there is absolutely no comparable kind of activities going on inside India by any of the literally thousands of organizations and parties and groups of people who are legitimately aggrieved at the Hindutva regime fronted by the criminal Narendra Modi and his co-criminal Amit Shah. I mean, to take the example of the 7 little states in the northeast of the Republic of India, that the agitation in terms of the force and the power, agitation that they could actually be justified in organizing the people in those 7 countries or 7 states, 7 provinces, the agitation that they could be justified in mobilizing against the central regime fronted by Modi and his co-criminal Amit Shah would be tremendous. And those kind of mobilized demonstrations and demands could match the power and the anger that has been felt in the ranks of the Pakistan, ordinary public in the Pakistan, and expressed by the very angry but very disciplined supporters of the Tehreek-e-Insaf who have been turning up daily at the rallies across Pakistan. So the Financial Crimes is really worried that Imran Khan is on course to make Pakistan a democratic country on the basis of universal meaning of democracy, not on some kind of stupid, corrupt, pro-imperialistic British Raj endorsement of the corrupt succession of Indian democracy, which has been elevated wrongly to the level of the world's biggest democracy because of the number of people in India who take part in the elections. That has never been substantiated. Going back to the previous pre-Janata, pre-Shiv Sena, pre-Hindutva kind of regimes in India, Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the first Prime Minister and the nominee of the British imperialists, Jawaharlal Nehru operated a dishonest regime, a corrupt regime and a selfish regime, and a regime that actually betrayed the mandate and they betrayed the people of Kashmir, Junagadh, Manbadar, and Goa. These are the people that have been usurped by the Republic of India against the agreements that were made in the 1940s. Prior to the 1940s, August 1947, creation of the Republic of India and the Republic of Pakistan, which had East Pakistan, that is today's Bangladesh, and West Pakistan, which is today's Pakistan. So the Financial Crimes is very unhappy that Imran Khan is actually on course to make Pakistan a legitimate kind of democratic country. A legitimate democratic country that is far higher in terms of the delivery of democratic service, representation, and the voice to the people than anything that has been available to any of the hundreds of millions of people denied their rights in India since August 1947. So the financial crimes is doing what the Western media, extension of the US imperialistic state apparatus and agenda, they want to do to undermine Pakistan, because Pakistan numerically, in terms of the numbers of people, is a significant Muslim majority Muslim country. And they don't want, the Western imperialists don't want a Muslim majority country in any way to be self-sufficient in political terms. That is to say, they don't want a democratic Muslim country, which is why in 1951, the Americans removed the duly elected Muhammad Haque, the Prime Minister of Iran. Muhammad Haque was removed by the Americans in 1951. After Haque was elected again, and Haque's manifesto was to kind of assert control on the natural resources of Iran, which would mean that the American consumers would be affected, and so on. So this is what is happening in Pakistan. They didn't want Imran Khan to remain in power because he was increasingly enhancing the access of the people to the democratic platform in the country. And any country that has the people behind its regime, is far more difficult for imperialists to interfere with than a country that has no links. The regime is without any links with its people. And whenever the last 4 months' events are compared to the goings on in India politically, it is very clear that, contrary to Narendra Modi's pretentious, fabricated sermons that are designed and scripted to hide his war crimes and crimes against humanity in 2002, there is absolutely kind of absolute uncertainty on the part of the Indian patrons in the West, who don't know how to keep continuing to certify the Indian regime based in Delhi as better than the neighbors in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. So we shall be talking more about all of that in due course, and let's check if the guest is trying to enter the studio or not. I mean, this is something that we shall keep trying, but if Qutub is able to see or hear, he will do his best to enter, and we shall continue with Qutub with the updates from Bangladesh. Back to the situation in the UK. The financial crimes, that piece against Imran Khan and the Tehreek-e-Insaf party is so transparently stupid, because there was no real foreign funds given to the Tehreek-e-Insaf party. There was no foreign fund at all. What there was a token amount that cannot be dismissed as foreign funds. It's a Pakistani, overseas Pakistani businessman who has got lots and lots of business deals with various Western regimes and Western kind of companies. And it was through him that a charitable foundation or charitable organization was set up and money was raised. And the Financial Crimes is saying that the money raised for the charitable purpose was then transferred to the Tehreek-e-Insaf. Well, if there was agreement among the people running the charitable foundation that Tehreek-e-Insaf was doing some of the things that the charitable organization had as its aims, then sharing money with the Tehreek-e-Insaf could not constitute foreign funding. And so on. So we shall be continuing with this. And Imran Khan has been quoted by the Financial Crimes saying that he doesn't want to make any comment about this article or this allegation, because to do that would constitute prejudging the Tehreek-e-Insaf before the results of any real independent inquiry are published. But we just make the point that in India there are crores and crores and crores and crores of rupees that are being transferred right across the board by big business criminals in India. The Financial Crimes doesn't appear to have even heard of that. Now, Benjamin Parkin, the byline carrier that has been given this piece on page 6 of the Financial Crimes today, Monday, the 1st of August 2022. Benjamin Parkin looks like another Financial Crimes kind of infant that has been deployed in India. Now, there is no justification for somebody being based in Delhi to be given the authority to write about Pakistan as if this person was based in Pakistan's capital, and so on. It would be impossible to imagine that a Financial Crimes bureau controller or bureau chief based in any part of Pakistan, Karachi or Rawalpindi or Islamabad or Lahore, would be allowed to file hostile copies against the regime in India. Hostile copies, that is, hostility aimed at the Indian regime by the Financial Crimes and the other titles that are published from India. So what we shall be doing is to update on this in due course, carry on updating on this in due course. And we shall return to the London Borough of Tower Hamlets, where our campaign came across an item concerning an individual that we have mentioned in quite a few of our broadcasts, and we have discussed in tweets and other social media posts. It's a man called Mark Baines. Now, Mark Baines was one of the two people who in July 2015 were given the exclusive audience by the then just recently elected mayor of Tower Hamlets, John Biggs. And the presentation by Ted Jury and Mark Baines took place right in front of me in the so-called mayor's cabinet. It was absolutely dishonest presentation. Because Mark Baines, who I never heard of until that time before, I never heard of Mark Baines as anything to do with the local community, anything to do with any investigative journalism, anything to do with the campaign against anti-democratic crooks in the London Borough of Tower Hamlets. So an invitation was kind of given to Mark Baines by John Biggs on the assumption that there would be their appearance would be seen by the Khood public, the Thatcherite public. That is the slogan that Liz Truss is capitalizing on, that they would be attracted to that. Now, whatever Ted Jury said in that session didn't kind of differ very much from what Mark Baines said about the Tower Hamlets Council and the information. But both of them were there. I mean, the videos, if they recorded the video, is proof. But let me just say, without the videos, Ted Jury and Mark Baines presented alleged accounts of their encounters with the Tower Hamlets Council's media. And that was the drawing line, cut-off line, the dividing line was the people that were in post before John Biggs took over in June, on the 11th of June 2015, that between the election of John Biggs on the 11th of June and his taking up the position in July and his chairing that session, he must have decided that Ted Jury and Mark Baines were to be given a special status as journalists by the John Biggs fronted regime. Why? They didn't, of course, explain why, but I can give the answer. The why is because those two published over the previous 18 months or so enough items that actually condemned, enough items that had actually condemned Lutfur Rahman. Remember, I'm saying that those items were published well before the petition against Lutfur Rahman was heard, and most certainly not after the petition had been heard and the ruling published. It was all before the ruling was published. And so, whatever Ted Jury said, it was very vague, but the essential line was to suck up to the John Biggs regime. And Mark Baines, who, as I said, had never been kind of part of the imagery or part of the population or part of the so-called campaigning journalists with addresses in Tower Hamlets. Mark Baines gave a series of untruthful testimonials praising John Biggs and praising the Tower Hamlets Council for providing transparent and truthful information whenever the so we are looking at the screen and there is no sign of our potential guest from Bangladesh, Kutubuddin. He's not appearing to appear. If he has got the link or not. But if he appears, then we'll take him on board, and if he doesn't, then we shall do that solo without the guest. Now, Mark Baines delivered a series of absolutely untruthful accounts or claims or scenarios of his experience of getting information from Towners Council staff. Both Jury and Baines were complimenting one another. And even before that date when they appeared, they were complimenting one another in their kind of separate tweets or Twitter accounts and the Facebook accounts or whatever else they kind of published their experiences on. And in the process of doing that, what they were doing was to establish themselves as the media part of the new regime, as if they had been kind of fighting to dislodge Lutfur Rahman. Now, I'm not going to say anything about Lutfur Rahman's regime deserving any kind of consideration, either by Mark Baines or the TED jury. What I'm saying is that whatever those two said was scripted. That is to say, it was part of the planned delivery of praise for John Biggs, and by implication, denunciation and rejection of Lutfur Rahman. And at one point, I took the decision to stand up and go near the Baines and the jury and try to take their pictures. And I think this is a incident that took place with the chair being occupied by John Pierce. John Pierce was a racist councillor, a Labour councillor from the and so therefore they actually noticed that I was trying to take their pictures. And Ted Jury said to John Pierce, whatever he did say was to the effect that I was taking pictures. Now, it is absolutely within my rights, was within my rights and remains within my rights to take the pictures because they were appearing at a public event. And I was a member of the public. I was also, of course, who is that? Sorry? Hold on. Okay.
Hi, giving you medicine, yeah?
All right. Is there water?
It's for an ointment for your.
Not now. You have to come after making an appointment. I'm busy now, so I'll take this one.
Yeah.
You can come with one later. This one I'll take.
Okay.
All right. So we shall end this one now, because there appears to be no sign of Kutub making contact. So this is 1921 hours GMT, 2021 hours UK time.